My mother delivered me in our one-room house in Abedzadeh, a province in Eritrea. We had no other option because I was born towards the end of the month and my father wasn't paid yet, restricting him to access the hospital. My aunt, who was a midwife, was involved in assisting the delivery, which financially helped my father from not having to spend for labor charges. My mother did not want to take painkillers because high value was given to natural birth. Moreover, they were additional costs. For the first year, my mother did not expose my skin to the sun and did not realize the need for sunlight to obtain vitamin D. She used to dress me with a lot of clothing and jewelry and did not think of its negative impacts. As a result of a lack of educated people in my family, my mother fed me with a lot of food thinking that a fat baby was considered healthy. Even though birth control was encouraged by the government, my parents believed it to be unethical in terms of a religion, and so they had one child 2 years before I was born and wished to have at least 2 more children. We live as a nuclear family after my father's parents passed away a long time before my birth.
The Eritrean government has achieved a lot in terms of reducing infant mortality in our neighborhood by organizing free health vaccinations nearby. My daughter was provided with every necessary vaccine but the one for tetanus. And now her aunt has discovered that she has the disease as she had fever, joint pain and nausea. She is undergoing treatment with the assistance of government-appointed doctors and they believe it will be cured soon.
I was named after my baptism and they gave me 2 names, a given name and a Christian name. It depended on the day on which I was born. My surname was chosen to be my father's first name. The name Abeba means flower, and my mother decided to give me such a name because she wanted to treat me with great love and wanted to express it easily by just addressing me. Moreover, my father had approached her with some flowers soon after the birth, and this had reflected on the name. I attended my first day of school when I was 7 years old because it was mandatory according to the Eritrean government and my father was forced to send me. I walked to my school along with my father and the teachers assigned me my daily classes upon my arrival. Since there were many students to be taught, some students were scheduled to attend school in the afternoon. To my advantage, I was given the morning time, which made it easier for my father to drop me. My first lesson for the day was English and the teacher asked me to choose an object that was laid out in front of the class. I was very nervous and I took a cup that I always see in my home and the teacher asked me what it was. Then I replied, cup. Everyone in the class started laughing because they were aware of some words like these prior to this day. My teacher consoled me and she asked me to say it the right way 12 times. As I expected, my parents continued to follow the Eritrean convention of having 4 children by having 2 twins who are boys. My parents were very happy as well as tense on realizing the amount of expenses involved in meeting the needs of the family. My father named them Abeba and Amman, which meant lion and handsome. Then I was able to clearly see the amount of care I was given when I was born. I often observe how they undergo trainings like toilet training with my mother's assistance. I have never celebrated my birthday and I've almost forgotten when it is. My mother informed me that it was my 10th birthday because my age was turning into double digits. So my father bought me a pen and I declared it as the best day of my life. He bought it for me realizing that everyone in my school had it and they mocked me for not possessing one. Even though education is free of cost in Eritrea, there are many other expenses such as books and uniforms. Today I was supposed to hand in the money for the books that they gave me last week and I've been dismissed and not allowed to continue studies. Tomorrow onwards I'll be doing some household chores so that my mother can go for work in the nearby farm and add to the income of the family. Just like how our country loves football, I also have a desire to play the sport. But females in the country are not allowed to play such sports. Once I was walking past a place where a bunch of boys were playing football, and when the ball came to me, I kicked it. Unfortunately, my father happened to see this and he was furious, resulting in me being scolded very harshly and beat once. One day, my father experienced severe coughing and was feeling very tired. After 3 weeks of continuous coughing, he asked my aunt what complications he was facing. She said that the symptoms insisted that he was affected by tuberculosis 5 years back and now it has become active. She prescribed some medical drugs that had to be taken along a 6-month period. It was very expensive when compared to our income, but he was determined to do the treatment because he wanted to finish the marriage of all his children as they had no one else for support. My daily routine begins when I wake up at 6 in the morning and I get freshened up. I enter the small area for cooking and I cook injera, a cuisine similar to pancakes for breakfast. We prefer to use it because it requires readily available and inexpensive ingredients. Then I go to my school with my father and I study subjects such as English and mathematics in our native language. After I come back home, I revise some knowledge that I gained from the school. For lunch, I and my mother will cook hamli, which requires very few ingredients, and moreover, we get some of it from my mother's workplace. Then I tidy up all the things that are handled by my younger brothers, and I clean the house. We often skip dinners because our family income is not enough for it. Then I go to sleep at 10 because females have a curfew and are not meant to stay up very late. The government of Eritrea has banned the religious ritual of female circumcision as a rite of passage, and moreover my father is against it because he believes it's physical torture and the abuse of children's rights. Instead, my father forced me to work in the same farm as my mother goes to in order to recognize me as an adult as well as my physical capabilities. Now I started to have a say in decisions that relate to household. My father has found me a man and has not requested my approval for the marriage, and his name is Asmara. He has looked at his dedication as a worker, thriftness, level of responsibility for becoming a parent, wealth and virginity. The groom's father came to our house and presented the proposal to the family. My father managed to arrange 3 heads of cattle to give to the future son-in-law's father and organize a small feast at the time of collection. That father brought some jewelry and dresses upon his arrival. My father met with the priest and decided a day for the marriage. Like 1 week before the betrothal day, my relatives began dancing and singing with praise for both families. I got married on the 20th November 1980 at the age of 15, and I was taken to my bridegroom's house. The day after I arrived at my husband's house, I was ordered by my mother-in-law to do all the household work and make breakfast for the family before the men leave for work. Soon after, I and my mother-in-law take care of the small crops grown behind our house and do all agricultural activities such as sowing and fetching water. And we are not allowed to do the strenuous jobs such as plowing, which will be done by the men after they return in the evening. Later in the day, I will prepare remaining meals for the tired men. My life was moving in a very boring direction as I had very less time to spend with my husband. One day I experienced discomfort in my stomach, which was a traditional sign of pregnancy. I visited my aunt and we went to the hospital to meet a gynecologist who was her close friend. She performed a test and told me that I was pregnant. This was a great change for me. I gave birth to a baby boy 9 months after being pregnant, and I'm very excited to be a mother. My husband is also amused by the fact that he's a boy and is capable of working hard and increasing the income of the family. I thought for a long time on what I should name my child, and we named him Betha, which meant pleasurable, because he brought happiness to my life. We do not wish to have any more children because we strongly believe that we cannot afford the expenses. The war between our country and Ethiopia was going on from 1998, and almost 19,000 people have died from its chaos. One day, my husband was walking to his workplace and he was shot in the head and when a fire broke out. I constantly questioned myself, why did I lose him so soon? I was not allowed to remarry again, as I had given birth to a child, and now I had to work hard in order to feed my husband's family. Now I'm going to the same hospital that my aunt works in, and I work there as a cleaner. The wage that I receive is not a lot, but it's more than the money that I would get when working in someone else's farm. I have to work for 12 hours and thereby I'm not able to take care of my child. Despite of this work pressure, I'm expected to cook all the meals in the house. I'm only hoping to get my salary increased after 2 years. I'm not feeling very good today because I coughed some blood and I'm feeling very sick and tired. Later today I experienced some chest pain and I felt it every time I took a breath. My mother passed the information given by my aunt to me by saying that I have tuberculosis and it was transmitted from my father as we lived in the same house together with a close relationship, resulting in me inhaling his expelled droplets when he coughed severely. My family were heartbroken when they were told that they would have to pay for expensive drugs as part of treatment for 9 months. After months of no treatment, the wounds in the lungs have been infected by bacteria. This meant that I would experience death in a couple of weeks, and all my families were tensed and confused on how to react. I am now laying in my bed and praying to God to give me a less painful death.
Our family spent 2 days mourning with regards to this loss. On the day of the funeral, we wore black clothes and gathered in our house along with our existing relatives. Both genders sat on either sides of the body and they expressed their condolences with loud cries. My sister offered me some money, and I used it to make some arrangements for the burial outside the house beside her father.